Very small backwater town. In fact, it was so small that the Kansas Bureau of Investigation took it over within 3 days of Alonzo being reported missing. The local police department did not have the opportunity to investigate this case. Paul Filla was a deputy at the time of the disappearance, and he was a local deputy at the sheriff's office in La Sing. And he said that within 3 days of Alonzo going missing from the 4th to the 7th, KBI takes over the case completely, and they are no longer responsible for the case.
There's no reason why a group of family members and friends should find his body in 30 minutes after the police were looking.
And the family
for
has
30
a reason for that. The family does have a reason for that. The family does not blame the police for that. The family has a reason.
I blame the police.
I don't, because I'll get into why I don't blame the police later, because there's some inconsistencies with the way his body was found.
Oh, no. I don't think the body was in that shed this entire time.
No. Just let me get there, because when I get there, I have some information that blew my mind when I read it, because all the medical examiner could say was, oh, there was so much decomposition, I couldn't tell anything. And I'm looking at the information that I got, and I was like, his body couldn't have been that badly decomposed. His brother gave us a description of what his body looked like when they found him in the water. And he had to literally have been killed within 24 to 48 hours, because on day 3, your body starts to bloat. And what's the first thing his brother said? His body was not bloated.
My sincerest apologies. Fuck the police. Continue.
So at some point, within 3 days of KBI taking the investigation, the FBI now gets involved. This case, I think that the people around kind of knew that if they left this up to the local La Sing, potentially racist police department, allegedly racist police department, that it wouldn't get handled properly. So the KBI took it over 3 days in, and then the FBI gets involved 3 days after that. On April 10th, they get involved.
And the KBI is the Kansas Bureau of Investigation.
Yes.
Which I didn't even know that was a thing.
Do
we have an OBI?
I don't think so. I think that's it's kind of like in Georgia. So
Ohio
in Georgia, where my sister-in-law lives, they don't have a jail. They don't have a city jail. We have Mancy, that's our city jail. They don't have a city jail, so they have to take you to county jail if you're arrested. That's where it is, where my sister-in-law's at. So I assume that this is something similar. If it's a high-profile case or something serious that happened and they don't think that the local police department can handle it, the Kansas Bureau of Investigation takes it over. But we don't really have that problem in Ohio, at least not to my knowledge. So sometime after the 10th, I don't believe I got that date. On April 4th, I'm jumping ahead. On April 4th, rescue teams search the creek. In fact, it includes divers, and we actually see the guy and hear from the guy. His name is Bill Teller, I think. And he is in charge of the diver search party thing. And he said that they had 3 guys in the creek and 3 guys in the surrounding area. And they never found anything.
Now, I will say that out of all the fuck the police, the divers seemed like they might have actually been legit in trying to find him.
Yeah.
Because they even say, we offered to look again, and they just
never invite us back out. In fact, we hear from them later when we find out that the family found the body, and he's like, if that body was out here, because they searched twice. They searched once by themselves, I think, and then they searched when the police actually did their full search. They searched with cadaver dogs and everything. I think they said they had divers on that day as well.
I didn't think they did.
I could be wrong, but I really thought they might not have done it twice. They might have just done it on the day with the cadaver dogs. And they said that if that the water was low enough that they could see the bottom, and they would have been able, if his body was there, they would have been able to see his body just by sweeping their feet and shuffling their feet.
Yeah, they flat out bring up that it's weird that he was found it and the way he was found and everything. So the divers are the only people that I don't say fuck the divers. I don't say that. Right. That's negative. It's fuck the police.
So I talked about how the police say that Alonzo got drunk and tried to walk. And Justin, this is like one of the other times that we hear from Justin, and Justin's very passionate about this. Justin said that he thinks, he was like, that didn't happen. It's completely out of Alonzo's character to just go walking somewhere. He would have been more likely to call somebody like me or his mom or whoever and have him pick him up, as opposed to going out and walking by himself. That was completely out of character. And his ankle was messed up as well. Justin brings that up as well, that his ankle was messed up. So how the fuck is he walking around without shoes on in a marshy, swampy kind of creek-like area? You know, it was like, Justin brings up that it was weird. So
I'm surprised the police didn't just say, he committed suicide for no reason, out of nowhere, case closed.
The police didn't do the same thing to Alonzo that they did to Ray Rivera.
That seems to be a theme on this Unsolved Mystery cases. Almost everyone has a possibility of fuck the police.
Yeah, literally. So on May 1st, this is 27 days after Alonzo goes missing, the family's kind of pissed, and they've been begging to go search, and the police are like, listen, we cannot have you guys tampering with shit while we're out there searching. Let us do our searches, and then we'll let you go out and search. The family's calling every day, and the police are like, listen, we need to do our job. We'll contact you when we have something, which I'm not even mad. I'm not even mad about the police on that one.
If I didn't think they were shady as fuck, that's legit. You do not want the family to go out there tampering evidence, screwing things up.
Right.
They're not trained to do what they're doing.
I don't think, and that's one thing that I think the cops were legit on. We cannot have you guys out tampering with things because we see the way that Alonzo's mother treats his personal items. And I'm not saying that she would have done that at the time or that what she's doing is bad. But let's say that Alonzo's mother went out with the cops and wanted to search for her son and found the dice that were in his pocket. Then the police have to fingerprint her and eliminate her as a suspect. It makes their job 10 times harder.
Right.
I think the police were legit on that.
That's what proper police should be saying. However, these guys...
Like I said, that's the only thing I think the police...
Shady fuckers.
Yes. That's the only thing I think the police were legit on was... Please don't call us. Let us do our job. We will call you when we have some information for you. And no, we're not going to let you search because we cannot have family tampering with the evidence. At some point, I think the family annoyed the fuck out of these cops. Because at some point, the family is allowed to go search. And that doesn't happen.
These black people that want to know where their black son is?
I understand where you're coming from.
Is annoying the white racist police.
If it was anybody else, I would say the same thing. If it was a white family, I would say the same thing. At some point, they pestered the cops because I've never heard of this before. Quite personally, and you know me, I'm into true crime. I'm into every case. My current case is, the Lori Vallow case because I think that shit's fucked. I'm constantly into true crime, always looking into shit. I've never heard of a family going out and searching for a body by themselves without cops present. That doesn't happen. It's not something that they really typically allow to happen because they cannot... If you get overly emotional at seeing your brother dead on the ground, which is completely human and completely normal, you can't... Just a second. Calypso, get out. Okay. You can't, if I, God forbid, anything were to ever happen to my sister, but if I was in that situation and I saw my sister dead on the side of the road, I would not be able to stop myself from touching her, grabbing her, trying to resuscitate her. And they really can't have those things happening. So I don't really understand why they allowed the family to go out there. I think it's because the family pestered them and they were like, hey, if we give them something to do for a couple of days, we might be able to make some progress because they won't be calling us every 2 hours. They won't be bothering us. You know, yes, I understand that they're not bothering for an unreasonable reason, but the police probably thought if we let them do that, we didn't find anything. So we assume there's nothing out there. So let's just let them go do what they're going to do, and we'll keep working on the case from here. So I don't think they actually thought that anything was going to come out of that family search.
Oh, I think they let the family search because they wanted them to find the body.
I don't think so.
I don't know why.
No. I think it's more likely, and even the police say this, and the family says this as well, that they believe that the body was placed there after the police did their search. They don't believe that the body was out there when the police did their search. They don't believe that the police hid the body.
I don't think the body was there while the police were doing the search either.
I think that whoever killed Alonzo wanted the family to find the body. And you heard the same thing that I heard. It's a small town. And this came from Billy Brooks, Alonzo's brother. He said that what probably happened is the sheriff at the time was the one who gave them permission to search the area. So what he assumes happened, he said it probably spread like wildfire. He was like, he could have gone home and told his wife that the family was going to search the area today, and it could have spread all the way around town by noon, which was when they got to town to search. And at that point, the person that killed Alonzo had heard about it and dumped the body. That's what Billy Brooks, the brother of Alonzo, said he thought happened. He said he didn't think it had anything to do with the police. He thought that the body had literally been moved, and I totally agree with that because, like I said, got some information. But we know that the police searched twice, once with divers and cadaver dogs, and they searched for hours. They said that they searched from like basically noon until the evening time when it was time for them to go home for the night. So they searched for a long time. Within an hour and 30 minutes, the family finds Alonzo's body in the creek. They said that there's a white shed that should have been checked out, but at this point the white shed is gone, so it can never be checked out. It's gone. It was torn down at some point. Now there are two things that are contradicting right now.
They're saying that white shed is no longer there, but it was there when they found the body.
It was there. They said that they wanted to check it when it was there, but they found Alonzo's body first. So they ignored the shed and focused on him.
Oh,
which is reasonable.
They found it in the shed.
They found his body in the creek.
Oh.
I am going to tell you what I think. I think there was almost no decomposition on the body. Just like we saw there was almost no decomposition to his personal items, I don't think there was any decomposition on the body as well, and I'll explain that in a minute. Eric Mitchell, the doctor who was the medical examiner, did the autopsy, said that there was no penetrative wounds, no bone fractures, there was no sharp penetrative wounds, and there was no gunshot. So the two most likely causes of death are drowning and strangulation, but he can't find proof for either of those because according to him the decomp was too bad, which I don't believe. But the cause of death was labeled as undetermined, which is this is the second case in Unsolved Mysteries that we've seen with an undetermined cause of death. The first one was Ray Rivera and the apparent suicide off of the Belvedere, and this is the second undetermined cause of death that we've seen. According to the friends and family, specifically Justin and Daniel, and Tyler as well, they talk about how many theories there were online and how many rumors. This was right at the pinnacle of MySpace and Reddit. And like Reddit's still a thing, but according to them, there were so many theories that it was hard to deduce people that were actually telling the truth that they maybe thought something and people that were making shit up. They said some of it was feasible, but there was also some of it that was just completely asinine and made no sense. So I assumed that it was like a high-profile case, and it was just something that the 2004 true crime community jumped on and just decided they were going to throw everything at it. And I think, honestly, these people thought they were helping, but they hurt more than they helped. The cops said that there were fights that night after the friends left. None of them involved Alonzo, according to them. They didn't arrest him. They didn't tell him he had to leave or anything like that, but there were fights. And the friends, Justin, Tyler, and Daniel, found that out from the police. One of his sisters, Felicia, it was either Felicia or Demetria, said that there were rumors that he was talking to some white girl, and they kind of were like, up on each other, and she said maybe they got a little too friendly. Maybe somebody there didn't like it, and, took him out for that. His friends would have taken more than one person. It would have taken more than one person for Alonzo to have been subdued. It would have taken at least 3 to 4 people, they said. He's a big guy. He would have fought back. Justin specifically said that he would have gone down fighting. And this is when we see Justin start to cry, and this is when we start to see the human side of Justin that made me think he didn't do it. Because he's crying and he's like, I feel so bad. I wish I could trade places with him. And I would have gone down fighting with him as well, which I think is a very powerful thing to say when you know that it was racially motivated. Or you assume that it was racially motivated. Allegedly racially motivated. Like, Justin thinks it's allegedly racially motivated. So it's a very powerful thing for him to say, I would have gone down fighting with my friend at that point. And that's another reason I don't think that he had anything to do with it. So, something that Billy does when they're talking about the body being discovered is he describes the body. He said that the body was not bloated. Not bloated. And just so that everybody's aware, bloating is actually part of decomposition. It is not something that would occur just from him being in the water. It's a part of decomposition.
Water just speeds it.
And he was also not pale or discolored, which is also a part of decomposition. There was no damage to the personal items. The things were worn. Like, maybe he had been wearing them for a couple weeks. They had holes in them. Like, it looked like wear and tear if you were wearing the same shirt for 3 weeks straight and you weren't at home and you were, like, out in the wilderness or somebody was doing something to you. But his dice, his movie ticket, his plastic, his papers, and his bandana, none of which were damaged. The only thing that was damaged was his, sweater that he was wearing that night. That was the main thing that was damaged. The family believes that the body was placed there right before their search or after the police's initial search. I'm thinking it was right before the search based on the information that I have. So they want to know April 4th to May 1st. 27 days worth of time. Where was Alonzo in that time if he wasn't in the creek? Somebody mentioned a meat locker. Was the body frozen? Because the body, like I said, the medical examiner says that the body was badly decomposed. But based on the description that we got from Billy, the body was not badly decomposed. And that might be some corruption on the medical examiner's part. Because when a body dies, it takes 3 to 5 days for bloating to occur. So he was not bloated, meaning he was either frozen in the time that it would have taken him to decompose, or he was killed literally somewhere between 24 and 48 hours prior to his body being found and left in the creek. He was not discolored. And discoloration takes 8 to 10 days. Discoloration is when your body takes on a green tone. This is when your body begins to look pale because your blood is actually starting to decompose. And that takes 8 to 10 days. So there could not have been that much decomposition on the body that the medical examiner says there was, because 2 crucial things that happen within the first 2 weeks of a body dying have not happened yet.
Maybe he just doesn't know how to examine a black body.
Oh, Jesus. I mean, it is what it is. He also said that there's no way to prove that a body has been frozen, which I don't think that's true. I'm pretty sure that you can find out if a body was frozen. He says that you can find out if a body was frozen, but there would be molecular changes in the body that wouldn't be detectable with the level of decomposition on the body. But as we've already discussed, decomposition hadn't really started yet past the point of his internal organs beginning to decompose. So there wasn't that much decomp. He's just an asshole. Like, allegedly, but he's just an asshole. I just can't. I'm literally,
or
like,
racist
I'm sitting here.
And fuck the police again.
I'm like, he wasn't bloated. We all know that bloating is a part of decomposition. We all know that it happens. If you've seen a dead body, you know that they bloat. It's because your body starts to create gas from the organs decomposing in your body. And so your body expands, right? Discoloration happens because your blood starts to decompose inside of your body and it takes your pigmentation away and makes your body turn green, which is what makes you look pale. These things haven't happened yet. These things happen within 2 weeks of a body dying. Therefore, decomposition could not have been that bad because the body doesn't even begin to liquefy until 14 to 21 days post-death that the body begins to liquefy. So there couldn't have been that much decomp. This isn't like, and I guess that's what frustrates me. This isn't like Kaylee Anthony, where she was missing for 2 years before her body was found, or something like that, and they found just a skeleton. This body was not bloated. This body didn't have discoloration. And the reason I'm focusing on those 2 points is because those are the 2 points that we got from Billy, his brother. And I don't know about you, but I would notice if my sister was bloated. I would notice if my sister was discolored. Those are important things to notice. Something that could have stopped that process would have been a meat locker, which is something that Rodney English brings up, or a freezer. Because freezing a body stops the decomposition process.
Right.
Like I said, it's very, very, very odd. This case is extremely weird. I thought the last case was weird because there was no evidence. But this case is even weirder because they can't even figure out how he died. And I don't trust this medical examiner at this point, which is why I'm really glad that his body's been exhumed, because none of this makes sense. None of it makes sense. How did he die without any fracture to his bones? So he said that since there's no fracture to any of the bones or no puncturing of the bones through the skin, that means he wasn't beaten. He wasn't, they don't find any evidence of alcohol poisoning, so he didn't drink himself to death. This was a strong guy, you know what I mean? Like, there was no puncture wounds, no stab wounds, no gunshot wounds. Like, how did this strong football player, determined man just die, and they have no way of finding out? Because there is a way to find out, and this is another thing that pissed me off. He said that he could have drowned, but there's no way to tell. Yes, there is. If there's water in his lungs, he drowned. If there's not water in his lungs, he probably didn't drown, because dry drowning cases are extremely rare.
Now, since they are exhuming the body, we're probably going to be doing an update on this case, because it sounds like they're going to try it. And now it might be harder because this is 16 years later.
Yes.
To find evidence, but something.
Yeah, just anything at this point.
Is not right.
Because the family, I 100% believe that the family deserves justice for this. In fact, if any of you guys out there know anything, please contact Unsolved Mysteries, because it's not fair that the family has had to go 16 years without justice. It's not fair that they weren't taken seriously. It's not fair that the police didn't interview more people. It's not fair that the police allowed people to decide, allowed people that were at that party that night to decide whether or not they were going to take a lie detector test. It's not fair that they did have all of these people take lie detector tests, but nothing came out of it. And that's something that Daniel brings up, is that they had people take lie detector tests, but nothing came out of it. And it was more than just the 3 friends. They had other people take lie detector tests, and just nothing came out of it. They never heard anything about it.
Said about 100 people.
Yeah. So all these people take lie detector tests, and you guys can't figure out anything? Nothing? Like, it's just...
racism.
I mean, it's really sad, but when a black person dies, it doesn't matter to police in today's day and age. And, like, maybe not in today's day and age so badly, but at least back then it wasn't in a BFE small little rinky-dink town. You know, a black person dying, they're like, You know, and it just sucks, because just because this man had a different skin color than theirs does not mean that his life is any less valuable, does not mean that his family is any less deserving of justice.
All right, are we ready for our next segment?
I'll let you take theories, because I really don't have any.
Theories. All right, so first off, let me just ask you this. You don't have any theories, but
Sure.
How do you think he died?
Okay, sorry about that. I don't know. I don't even have any theories about that. There's no information. There's nothing.
Doesn't seem like he was beaten to death.
I don't think that I think that the medical examiner is corrupt as shit, and I don't think that he actually gave an accurate description, because if he actually gave an accurate description, he would have taken note of the fact that the body had not been decomped to the point that it should have been. He claims that there was so much decomp that he couldn't even examine the throat to see if he had been strangled, which is bullshit. It's just, I don't even have any theories. I can't even think of. The only theory that I have is that the body was placed there after the police did their search, maybe even to make the police look bad.
Maybe.
By the killer.
I mean, there's a couple thoughts I have. There's jealous boyfriend. Possibly, jealous boyfriend, you don't need to be black to be attacked.
Right.
But it could have been amplified by the fact that this is a black man flirting with your girl or whatever. Right. So that's definitely one theory. As I've mentioned, I feel like somehow the police are involved, or at least the person that did it is the chief of police's son, so they cover it up, or
or somebody that used to be a cop or something like that.
Yeah. There's also I know we don't think it's them, but there's also the possibility, the fact that it's so far away and in an obvious racist town. What if one of his friends knew that? What if one of his friends brought him there for that reason?
Might have. I don't think it was Justin if it was.
I mean, I don't necessarily...
my best guess would be Tyler, because he seemed to be the least shook up about the whole thing. But that doesn't necessarily mean anything. He could have just been the least close.
This is also 16 years later.
Right.
So I'm not saying that is, but I'm just throwing out different possibilities. It could have been somebody led him there.
Right.
That this is or maybe even paid someone to take care of him.
Potentially. It's one of those things that you kind of really, I'm not really sure about. It's just one of those things I'm just kind of...
The fact that he wasn't, and this is based on the coroners, which we don't necessarily trust, but the fact that he wasn't beaten almost kind of takes away...
I wonder if he was... And don't take this out of context. I wonder if he was lynched. Because...
Well, see, that's another thing.
That would explain why he didn't show any evidence of anything else. And that would explain why they really don't want to address the neck or the possibility of strangulation.
Yeah, it's possible.
Because this could also be all about saving their town's image. It could have nothing to do with the fact that the cops are racist. They could maybe just not want their town to look like a racist town because maybe they're already
because it was racist.
Right. I mean, they might just be trying to save their town's image.
I thought I had and then just threw away right away because if it was the case, his brother would have noticed it on him. Is like with the whole.
Not necessarily.
What I'm about to say is necessarily. Because of his shoes being in different places, off the beaten path, I almost even thought of what if he was tied and dragged by a car or a four-wheeler or whatever. But if that was the case, his brother would have probably noticed that because that really fucks with your body.
Yeah.
That really damages the body. And if he just looked like he was normal, there's very little chance that he was dragged like that.
Like I said, I really don't have any theories. I think that you've covered everything that we could possibly address.
There's also the one other thought.
Yes.
Aliens. He was abducted, taken away for 30 days.
I'm sorry, can you tell that he's excited to cover... He's in charge of next week's episode. I'm actually not going to be your host next week. The host will be Steven, because Steven's going to be in charge of the aliens case. Can you tell that he's excited?
This could be the aliens case, too.
No, it's not.
He was taken by UFO, they studied him, and then that might be why the coroner... Let's say the coroner isn't a fuck-up, and... he didn't find anything because aliens took care of it.
Sure.
Okay. Hey, I need to get back to these crazy theories like I did in the first episode. Right. We've gotten too serious in these last two episodes.
Alrighty, guys. Well, I think...
I feel bad. Justice.
Yes. I think that we've covered everything that we can cover. If you guys have any information, like I said, please contact Unsolved Mysteries. If you guys would like to contact us, you can feel free to contact us on either the Unsolved Comedies Instagram page or the Dragon Blazer production fan page. You can also email us at unsolvedcomedy@gmail.com. Anything you want to plug?
You can follow me at the Dragon Blazer Productions page on Facebook and on Instagram, and my Twitter is at Dragon Blazer Pro.
Alrighty, guys. Thank you so much for listening.
And don't be on our next episode of Unsolved Mysteries.